Hey there guys, welcome to another video. So I just want to make a quick video. So you may be wondering, why do I have 4 iPhone 4s here? And it's not because it's an iPhone 4 and there are 4 of them. There's a reason, but I'll show you in just a moment here. A couple of these are different. So some of them are GSM, some of them are the CDMA model. So the iPhone 4 came out in 2010, so it's nearly 10 years old. I do have a black and white model here. This is the GSM model, this is the CDMA model, and as you can see here, one has a SIM tray and one does not. This is one I actually, I took the motherboard out of another one and put it in this model here, which actually had iOS 7 at the time. Another thing you may notice is the antenna bands. There are additional antenna bands on the top. On the GSM model, the antenna band for the Wi-Fi was on the top. It is not on the CDMA model. And as you can see here, on the side here, there is an antenna band here, and as you can see, the mute silent switch actually was moved down just a little bit, and that was kind of an interesting change. So the GSM model came out in 2010. The CDMA model was released in 2011. That was when AT&T's exclusivity contract ended with Apple, so Verizon was able to get the iPhone. And you may notice later cases that came out for the iPhone 4 had a larger hole for the silent switch to compensate for both models. So kind of interesting tidbit there. Anyway, so what's unique about these? Well, it took me a while to get these, but I have one on each version of the major iOS versions that this came on. So I have iOS 4, iOS 5, iOS 6, and iOS 7. So I figured, why not just show you guys the differences here? So here they all are. So these are the iPhone 4 on each major iOS version that it was supported with, and I'll give you a little bit of info on each of the versions here. So on each version, on iOS 4, which was the first version that it shipped with, and even in 2011 the CDMA version still shipped with iOS 4, which is a later version of iOS 4. iOS 4 brought multitasking, so you got the actual multitasking there, if it'll even show up. The home button on this one is a little finicky. There you go. Anyway, yeah, so there's your multitasking there. And you had some media controls there also, which is pretty cool. You did have a portrait orientation lock right there, so that's pretty cool there. It also supported folders for the first time. So you got folders, so it actually was able to hold more apps on the home screen. It also came with spell check, which we all know and love, and Wi-Fi tethering, which is pretty cool. So no notification center, no control center, a lot of stuff that we take for granted today. iOS 5 brought some major changes also, and it doesn't look like there's much difference from the home screen, or from the lock screen and the home screen, but what it brought was, obviously Siri came with iOS 5 with the iPhone 4S. The iPhone 4 did not get Siri, and Notification Center made its debut here. And so you had a couple different widgets there. So you had weather and stocks right there, pretty nice. And it came with iMessage, which we all know and love. So before iOS 5, you had to use SMS text messages, so you were always on green bubbles. Another thing that was kind of cool was before iOS 5, you had to use iTunes to activate a phone. Now you no longer had to do that. You could activate it with, you could activate it on the device. However, you would still need a SIM card that's active, or at least a SIM card for the carrier that it's compatible with, to actually activate the device. But you didn't have to use a PC to activate it. You could also reset the device on device and over-the-air updates. This is the first time they did over-the-air updates, and that was really exciting. Another thing it came with was Wi-Fi sync in iTunes. So you did not actually have to physically plug your phone in to actually sync your content and sync your actual phone. It also came with iCloud and iCloud backups. So yeah, and in 2011, 5 gigs was free, and it's 2020 and we still have 5 gigs free. So maybe one day they'll change that. Oh, also iOS 4 brought Game Center, which you can see here, and it is there also. So iOS 6 brought with it a couple changes here. So as you can see on the lock screen, we do have an addition for the camera, so you can just swipe up and get to the camera. And then you will notice that the bottom portion here is blacked out a little bit there. And on iOS 5, I can show you how that looked here. So as you can see here, it is just gray. Same options, but just gray. So iOS 6 came with a couple major changes also. Apple decided to get rid of all Google apps. So Google Maps was gone, and YouTube was also gone. So they came up with their own mapping system. And we all know how that went. It didn't go very well. They also refined the notification center just a little bit. And a couple things were added. So on there, they offered third-party widgets. So different app manufacturers could, different app makers could put their own third-party widgets on there. Do Not Disturb was also added, and Facebook and Twitter was integrated into the system. So another thing added was FaceTime over cellular. Previously, you could only use FaceTime on Wi-Fi. So now you could use it over cellular. Another thing was Passbook, which was kind of an interesting addition, and it was a little ahead of its time, but basically you could get, you could use boarding passes, movie tickets, coupons, loyalty cards, and more in just one place. And then there were different apps. So if you had an app that supported that, and you had a boarding pass, say for example, and you had an airline app on here, it would show up in here, and you could just go into the Passbook app and you could scan it. So pretty cool. So that was a little bit on iOS 6. iOS 7 obviously is pretty controversial, but it was the final update for the iPhone 4. And this was a major redesign for the entire system. So as you can see, compared to the lock screen of iOS 6, everything was changed. Everything. So the iconography, the background, the slide to unlock, everything was changed. Now iOS 7 didn't run very well on the iPhone 4, and I don't believe it should have gotten iOS 7, but it did, and it is interesting to see on this phone, but you can definitely tell that it's a lot slower now with this update. But you can see that everything was overhauled, the fonts, the iconography, all the skeuomorphism was gone. Everything was completely overhauled. Notification center changed a little bit. We got three different tabs here. So we got Today View, All View, and Mist. And one thing you may notice here too is that because the iPhone 4 was an older device and slower, it didn't get the frosted look that iOS 7 brought. So you have this kind of just a little clear black pane kind of thing. Another really cool thing that we all take for granted now is the control center. So here's our control center. You could turn on airplane mode. You could turn on and off Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, your Do Not Disturb, and your portrait lock right there. You had your brightness right here. You had your media controls right there. AirPlay was also introduced AirPlay was not introduced then. It was AirDrop that was introduced. And then we have our flashlight access. We have a timer, your calculator, and your camera right there. So that was also a different look there. Now, one thing you'll notice is as you go in and out of the camera, you can just see how glitchy it is. The animations also in iOS 7 were a little bit too long. So, but iOS 7 still works. So yeah, AirDrop was brought in for this for iOS 7, and that was only for compatible devices. Another thing that was introduced with iOS 7 was Apple Carplay, but that was only with the iPhone 5S, I believe. Yeah, it goes that far back. So 2013 was when this was released. It also included iTunes Radio and FaceTime audio. And I don't believe the iPhone 4 was capable of doing FaceTime audio, but that was another cool addition there. So that's just a little bit of info on these different updates that it had. But the iPhone 4 was definitely one of my favorite phones. So I still think that the iPhone 4 is absolutely a beautiful design. It is a beautiful glass slab with the stainless steel band all around. The antennas integrated in. It was a huge departure from the iPhone 3GS, which was basically almost all plastic. So this was a huge change. We did get a front-facing camera for the first time on the iPhone 4. So we got a FaceTime camera. And FaceTime was introduced, obviously, with the iPhone 4. So that was pretty cool. And what else did we get here? We also got that Retina display. So 3.5-inch Retina display, 960 by 640, over 300 pixels per inch. And it still looks absolutely gorgeous to this day. We also got a new camera on the back from the iPhone 3GS. So we got a 5 megapixel camera upgrade, as well as an LED flash, which we did not have before. And then we have our speaker down here, 30-pin dock connector. Yeah, so it was a really nice design. The CDMA model was kind of interesting. It came in the same year that the iPhone 4S came out, so it actually is very similar in design. Literally the only thing missing is the SIM tray. The internals are the same pretty much as the iPhone 4 for GSM, but I don't know, I always felt that the CDMA model was a little bit slower. But they do have the same processor and everything. So it came with that A4 processor. And anyway, so yeah, just want to give you guys a quick look at these, and this is my little collection of iPhone 4s. I will show you another collection coming soon. I have one left to come here, and I don't know, it's a little nerdy of me to collect these, but I just like it. And I would show you a little speed test of these, but it's really hard to try and do a speed test with 4 phones at the same time. I may do a little boot test to show you, but I think the iOS 4 will probably win. iOS 7 will probably be the very last, but you know what? To heck with it. We'll try it. We'll do it and see how it goes. All right, so let's try and do a little boot up test. This might be a little difficult, but we'll see if I can do it. So, see if we can get them all at the same time here. And you know what? This happened last time too, or I tried to get the iOS 4 one to start up and it didn't. Alright, so iOS 5 started up first. 6, followed by 6. Followed by iOS 4. Followed by 7. That's not a scientific test or anything because I didn't actually get the iOS 4 ones to start up right away. But yeah, so there you go. So let's see if I can even get any apps to start. This is hard. Let's see. And maybe not. Let's see if I can get the camera. Nope. I made them wiggle. Anyway, so rather than try to do that. Anyway, guys, so this is just a quick look at my little iPhone 4 collection. Hopefully you enjoyed this little video. And anyway, if you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more like this, consider subscribing. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.